Scions of the Southland, number 311. My name is Jack Purdy. We got Jake Grant with me. We're going through everything there is to know about Georgia Tech sports in the last week of action, which had a lot of action. I mean, when you get to April time, you've got anywhere from 3 to 7 sports playing on a single day if you're lucky. Saturday had, I think this week we had both tennis teams, softball, baseball, football, golf, and the men's and women's track and field team doing stuff. So this is the time when everything is happening, and it takes a lot to catch up with it all. But that's what we do because we're are we pros at this, Jake? Would you call ourselves pros at this yet?
We're somewhere between amateur and pro. Let's call it semi-pro. How's
Works. That
that?
works. I love that. I work that. That's fantastic. All right, we'll start with
Yeah.
baseball.
We went pro in something other than podcasting. How's that?
We do get paid to do other things and get paid a lot more money to do other things than talking to microphones. So
Yeah.
that scale makes sense. Baseball was number two. They're now number three after they lost the series this past weekend to number three, now number two, North Carolina. They lost the first game 5-2, lost the second game 14-4 in 8 innings, and then won Sunday 5-2. That was coming off a 13-9 win over Georgia Southern. I don't want to read too much in the Southern game beyond that. They gave Cooper Underwood the ball to start the game, and that didn't go so well. Which, I mean, if you're going to give a freshman a shot, that's the game to do that. Like, totally, I think that makes a lot of sense for
Yeah.
James to do. Nothing wrong with putting that, giving them a shot, knowing we're going to score against these guys. And that is exactly what happened, but sadly that didn't work out too well. So who knows how much more Cooper we see this season, quite honestly, or a couple of those other freshmen that haven't really. They've been trying Charlie Wilcox out for a number of different spots, and it's been only working to varying degrees. So you may see guys like this again, like when Xavier comes to town and we have the Mercer game. But outside of that, every game is pretty dang important from here on out. So that we'll see how that all. Oh, we have Kennesaw State too, so we might get these guys for another role. But I think the main pitching guys are set in stone. This North Carolina series, though, this felt like the first time we ran into a true buzzsaw of pitching that just was able to counter us pretty well. I think there was also a
Yeah.
mix of just left BABIP luck, or lack of luck, so to say. Like I know in game one we lose 5-2. We had the guys on base to score more than five. We had the guys on base in the eighth inning to score more than five, and just didn't get it done. So this, for every, I wonder what you think about this. Of all the possibilities of a number two versus number three series on the road, this felt like one of the more likely results of how that series would have gone.
Yeah, and I think the keying in on the first game being a little Bappy, I think that's particularly poignant. You know, you might look at the final score and be like, oh yeah, not necessarily close, but they were one swing away from taking a lead in the
Yeah,
bottom of the eighth. That the,
yeah,
the game hinged on they put a couple over the fence and we didn't. They got to
yep,
starters early, and we didn't. I'm not going to say game two was awesome because it
yep,
was not,
yeah. Nope,
but
nope,
you know.
yeah. The key through started that game. Do you know what was the last time we had lost a game where Tate McKee started? I'll put it, but
Honestly,
let's make this number big. It's a three-digit figure in terms of number of days.
number of days. So that had to have been last year then.
Yep, yep.
Trying to think, I would have been listening on the radio probably because I feel like I listened to most of his starts on the radio. Was it? No, he swept Cal, I think. I don't know, Jack. I'm not going to get it. It had to have been last year though. Maybe in April.
It did. It was in May of last year, May 9th. It was the game again. It was his start against Louisville where we lost 16-2. But that was at the time of this game 343 days prior. We had gone. That is how many days it had been since Tech had lost a game that Tate McKee had started. So that's a ridiculously good streak, and it took one of the best, an Omaha level team to beat us in that context. So,
Mhm.
and and as we mentioned, like we had the chance to win there. There wasn't any like worrying signs to come out of this game. That's just two good teams doing what two good teams do. And we were on the road, doesn't help. Uh, Jason DeCaro and Ryan Lynch were the main guys that they threw on Friday and Saturday. Saturday was not good in the run in that we lost a run rule game, but it did kind of work out because we didn't have to burn a lot of guys. Like we were
Yeah.
able to save our pen for Sunday, which ended up being critical because Mason Patel had to throw 4 innings on
Yeah.
Sunday, and if he doesn't do what he did, there's a real shot we don't win that game. because
Yeah.
we still had problems walking guys. North Carolina left 11 dudes on base in that game. Like that took
Yeah.
some real gutsy pitching from us between Blakely, Caden got in, and Patel. Like we had to have those guys ready. So in the sense that we're winning when our best pitchers are throwing, that is holding true. We just were out of the game too early on Saturday to just make it worth putting those arms in. Um,
Yeah.
so kind of that was nice. That was a nice side effect of if you're gonna lose, have a positive out of it, and that was the positive.
Yeah, and I don't know that not to start flipping the cards too early towards what's coming this week, but
Yeah,
they're going to have plenty of opportunities to right the ship and get some quality opponents in the building and out of the building this coming week. So I don't
seriously,
know,
yeah,
Jack. I'm kind of at a point where it's like I don't know how to feel about this one yet. And I think it was almost natural that going on the road after a very emotional series on a weird schedule, an emotional
yeah,
series on a weird
yep,
schedule against FSU in your own building to go on the road and face a team of equal caliber is almost. I mean, yeah, you're going to run into that every week in ACC tournament and then
right,
beyond phase, right? You have to be ready to play big series every weekend, but I don't know that if we come out looking shaky tomorrow, then I think I'll know how to feel about UNC. But
fair.
there's four really great opportunities coming up. So
There really are.
and who's pitching? I don't know. We'll figure that one out tomorrow. To your point
That
earlier about Underwood and
Yeah,
whatnot. So
I don't think it'll be Angelakos because he threw 2 2/3 on Sunday. I will note Porter
mm,
Bursama did get the start on Saturday as he has the last few weeks. He allowed 7 runs, and so that was the first time it was the first time in a while he's been like really beat up. That's
yeah.
why that game was out of hand early. We did go only 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're probably losing that game even if we find our way to 8 or 9 runs, but that still is like like the big thing is we gave ourselves a lot of chances still. Like even against North
Yeah.
Carolina, there was this they had paths throughout these games to potentially find a way to make them more competitive, at least in the first and second game there. See, we can talk about this Georgia game. I do want to, which is tomorrow or today if you're listening on Tuesday at Truist Park. I want to just mention how Georgia has done on weeknight games because they have not been exactly great during
Yeah.
midweek games against in-state opponents. Uh, which to that point, let me scroll back on their schedule here. Let's see, they only beat East Tennessee State 12-10 on Tuesday.
Mm.
Close game. They did beat Presbyterian 28-3 in 7 innings, so ignore that game. Georgia State got them to 14-9 a few weeks ago. They lost to Kennesaw State 10-7 at home. That's something. Only barely beat the Citadel by 3. And then I think they lost to Western Carolina at one point. So they've lost to Troy this season as well. So like Wright State beat them early in the season. Like these teams, this is a gettable team. They are not. I mean, they're very good still. Like I think they have the most homers in college baseball right now. After they kind of, I mean, well, to say they put the woodwork to Arkansas is a little shortchanging it, considering they beat them in Game 3 of that series, 26-14 in a football game. Uh, and then this week, yeah, that was their last game they played. They put up 26 runs in a game, which we haven't even done yet this season.
I noticed in the preview that somehow this is the first top five matchup between these two teams. Did you
I did not catch that
care
yet,
to
but
comment on the combined excellence?
you know we had the best combined game in football this past year when it came to number of wins going into the game, and now the baseball teams probably the same, probably one of the same marks as well in terms of best number of most wins coming into a series. So
Can't
uh,
they just be bad, please?
yeah, yeah, that would
That'd
be
be
nice.
nice.
That would be nice. We're gonna have to change a lot of. We have to get a time machine and change basically every decision made by the border regions dating back to the 1930s to make that happen, though. Uh, I think a big thing here is that Von Lackey was not great this weekend, and a lot of our success it aligns with most of our guys hitting well, and most of our guys have been hitting well this entire season between Jaron, between Drew, between Carson. Uh, but not having Vaughn at the top of the lineup, getting guys in that he needed to get in, that didn't help. And so hopefully he gets off the schneid here on Tuesday. That'd be very nice. Um, Carson Kirst did hit leadoff on Sunday, and he didn't get any hits, but Drew Burris got a bunch of hits on Sunday. So I don't know if that shakeup helped or whatnot, but there's something there as well. as of now, we're still. I mean, we're going to be we're favored in this game by half a run. Uh, at the moment, last year's game was pretty close, and we had a shot to take the lead late in that game. I remember, and I would say we're better, well, hell of a lot better this year than we were last year for sure. So I definitely would expect us to. I mean, I think if you had to put money on a team, you put it on Tech. They're the best team. They're going to be the best team in this game, and we've been playing well on weeknights as well. And also we have multiple times now done the, especially against Auburn, have a bunch of good arms go out there and win a tight game against a really good team. So like we have won this kind of game that we're going to need to play already, which gives me confidence that there is a real path to win this game.
Yeah. You're the confident guy. I'm usually the like, can we guy? But right now, and again, if we were coming off last week, I'd be like, yeah, boom. Um, or if there was 2 weekends in a row we had seen him look like this most recent week,
Yeah,
I think I'd feel different. Right now, Jack, I think it's okay to not know how to feel, and I'm gonna. That's where I'll let myself be going into tomorrow. I think.
it's a very coin flippy game. Like
Yeah. Agreed.
I think based on how we just talked about the North Carolina games, it's like we found coin flips in that game, like in the first game just now. Uh, that's just baseball. Like it's some
So
stuff works, some stuff doesn't.
not to make this the pair has updated more stuff podcast. I feel like we do that all the time. Have you seen the similarity charts that they've added to the website?
I haven't got it. I haven't dug into that yet, but I know it's there.
So I did text because I was curious. I want to know what we profile similar to.
Yeah.
And if you look at the metrics view and the stats view, you get two different ones. I
Yep.
will choose to focus on the metrics one because that's the one that looks more fun for
Yep.
us.
Hmm.
And the five teams we profile as most similar to are 2016 Louisville, who went to the Supers, 2021 Texas, who went to the Final Four, so Omaha, and we're one of the last four teams standing. 2025 Arkansas, who's in the same boat. 2023 Virginia, also went to Omaha, and 2025 Coastal Carolina, who you might recall was last year's runner-up.
Yep.
So yeah,
They're good.
win tomorrow, and I'll be feeling a lot more like that than the stats view are Campbell 2023 regional final, Austin P and New Mexico State who missed the tournament, Florida State 2024 who was in the Final Four in Omaha, and Virginia Tech 2022 who went to the Supers. So I think that's maybe a lesson in. Not every stat that says Omaha means you're going to go to Omaha. You can be great in metrics or even really good in metrics,
Yeah.
and baseball's a game of randomness, but if that's the gamut is last year's runner up, yeah, that's okay way to feel about this team is to have high expectations. So because
Yeah.
they've been pretty darn
Well, and they've won all the games we needed to see them to win to back that up as well.
good. Yep.
Um,
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
also I mean, we won enough of those games to the point where these losses against North Carolina weren't like they didn't blow up the season by any stretch of the imagination. Now that one win carries a lot of weight now because we are still leading the
Hmm.
conference by a single game. So if we
Yep.
manage to get streaky again, and hopefully we will, we have some hard games still to go. But if we manage, just in a perfect world, we win all of our ACC games the rest of the way, we will win the ACC championship, regular season championship. Uh,
Yeah.
will we lose a couple games in there? We are more than projected to lose, drop a couple in there because it is still ACC ball, and it ain't going to be easy to finish the stretch out. And Boston College has been scary good in there on the calendar for us. So wouldn't be surprised if we drop one there if you had to pick a spot. So all that to say, like this team has done the work. We said this before. They've done the work. They've backed it up. All these couple losses here aren't good here and there. Even losing to Georgia won't ruin the season. Like there, we have put so much resume out there that we are very firmly in that top five teams in the country situation right now. A close loss tomorrow almost is as good as a close win in terms of just like how to metrically line up. Um, that said, my goodness, I'd love to have I mean, the crowd's gonna be bigger than it was last year for sure. At this point, like I cannot wait just to be in the building, just to feel that atmosphere for a game. I do wish it was at Rush Chandler to get that true home field advantage, but I think it is cool that we have the chance to put a game on like this at Truist Park. I think it's still a very cool experience for everybody.
Well, I'm curious how many people were there. Let me check the box score real quick to see how many were at last year's game. It says 15,000 flat, but that number seems too round to be right. I know the
Yeah,
the
there's some
all-time record's what, 28,000 from
uh,
2004, I
yeah,
think.
there's some
But
estimations going on there. I they should have a hard ticket count this time because like they sell in individual tickets. Or all everything's general admission, so it's not like they have to go section by section or whatever. But I mean, they should have a tickets sold count somewhere in there.
count
Yes,
so, count if sold.
yes, that should be a thing. Then we'll know. We should probably talk about the weekend. We play Wake Forest, who is not ranked at the moment. Pair has us at an 81% chance to win that series. We in terms of favored by about 3 runs a game in there. Wake can get a game in there. They have a. I mean, Pair has a better than none chance to actually steal a game from us in this series. So if we go 2-1 against Wake, nothing to squabble at there whatsoever. As long as we get the series win, I think that is the main thing to focus on there. At the moment, of our 7 losses, 5 of them have come from quad one, none from quad two, one from quad three, and one from quad four. Wake Forest is 5-11 against quad one teams, of which we are one of those. So
Yeah.
anything around the AC? Did you want to do around the ACC? We didn't check on this, but what do you want to do here?
Sure. Yeah. We touched on Tech and Carolina being 1-2. Tech is ahead by a game. That's big, especially because a sweep would have meant that it's functionally a two-game flip there, right? Because
Yep,
then
yep,
then you're tie breaking. Well, I mean the tiebreaker still goes to UNC, so you kind of got to hold serve there if you want the
yep.
regular season crown. That being said, both teams are a decent bit ahead of Boston College, who's in third, has acquitted themselves well so far there. I guess a game or two is the right way to put that. In terms of other action, other news and notes, Jack, have you checked in on Clemson? Have you checked in
Well,
on Clemson
I just
lately?
pulled the standings up as you were talking about it, and they're not in the top third. In fact, they're in the bottom eighth. Is that what it would be? Is
Hmm.
that the math? Do I have my
Yeah,
math right?
yeah, yeah. They're second to last right now. It's
Bottom six. Sorry,
not
bottom
too.
six. That's what it'd be.
Yeah, it's not too ideal for them there. In terms of ACC action, Louisville and Cal, Pitt, Virginia Tech, NC State, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Florida State, and Stanford, Miami were your games. Over the weekend, we did get a decent number of upsets. Stanford, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. Yeah, Louisville over Cal was an upset, by the way. Who would have called that at the
I
beginning of the
know.
year?
Yeah.
Those are kind of key series or key games there.
Hmm.
In terms of the rest of the weekend, it is worth noting that uh, it's been a volatile conference, right? I think we've seen
Hmm.
Pitt, Virginia Tech jump up, jump down. Notre Dame was ranked recently. I did listen to ACC, uh, not ACC, D1 Baseball's podcast earlier, so leaning on them a little bit here in terms of around the ACC. But one thing that they called out that I really thought was notable is I didn't realize that Notre Dame's kind of fallen off. They're 7 and
Yeah.
14 in the league right now, and as the D1 guys noted, they had them ranked pretty recently. So. Just in
And
terms of listening around from the rest of
that
the
is
sport, I thought that was
yeah.
notable. So,
That is good enough for dead last in the conference.
yeah, go figure, Jack. Go figure.
While I'm
Wait,
thinking,
they're dead last. I thought Clemson was 6 and 12. So wouldn't
uh,
Notre Dame at 7 and 14 be lower? Oh, more losses.
yep, yeah,
So,
yeah.
sort by max losses instead and games
Yes,
played.
yes.
So
Just to let's see here. There's how many teams are in this conference that play baseball? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so everyone makes the tournament. It's a 16 seed tournament. So at the moment, and just the difference between baseball and softball is that the top 4 seeds in baseball skip 2 rounds. In softball, it's only 1 round worth of skipping. So, I mean, we're pretty solidly locked into the top 4, pending a weird, absolute aberration of play in these last 3 weekends. But at the moment, based on hey, it takes a lot. It would take a lot to drop to 5. But is it possible? Yes. But all that to say, if if everything holds steady for the most part, we would only have to win, and this goes for all the top 4 seeds. You don't have to win 3 games to win the ACC tournament instead of
yeah,
the however many pointless games, the old format they made us used to play and would make us do.
God,
Uh,
yeah, that was a very silly tournament, Jack.
really was. It really was. So, all right.
Yeah.
Let me very quickly touch on the spring game. I wrote about this on our website, so you can find some more detailed thoughts there, just in terms of the main stuff to know. Main thing is spring games. There's very little to talk about spring games for the most part because they are very. It's a boilerplate football game. They run very few plays that matter. They throw some trick stuff in there just to make it fun for everybody. But it was the first time that we got to see Alberto Mendoza do some real plays in Bobby Dodd Stadium as Tech's quarterback. Hey, head coach Brent Key basically implied that he is QB1 and will be this season. If he said if we had to play a game now, he'd be the quarterback. So pending, I don't think Grady Adamson is going to leapfrog Alberto based on what we saw in this game. So it is definitely going to be him this year. Um, there was I think what was notable to me is that Alberto looked good. Justice Haynes looked good as well. Tackling, they didn't really do so much. Jake, you'll find this interesting. They didn't they definitely didn't tackle as much. Like obviously don't tackle the quarterback kind of thing. But there were some plays where they like seemed like they would have done a full wrap tackle that they weren't doing. And Key did mention after the game that they were working on tackling positioning in during this because they had some
Hmm.
problems with tackling in practice that he wasn't happy with in scrimmages. And so
Okay.
stage they were at was getting positioning right versus actually tackling, but tackling poorly or tackling or attempting to tackle from a bad position. So there definitely were some runs in this game that I think the refs were confused on how to call, like if they were supposed to be a touch or an actual tackle, just because there were some guys that were intentionally trying to work on their footwork and get in the correct spot versus actually make the full wrap tackle. So that
Hmm.
for the how unimportant the stats are in this game, there were a couple plays that guys probably got a hell of a lot further than they would have in a normal game. Aiden Bird did go for a 68-yard PAT. Yes,
Okay.
PAT, not a field goal, a PAT. Um,
Yeah.
it was short and right, but if there was wind, it would have had the leg. If you had backwind, he had the
Hmm.
leg. So we're at wind adjust. Now I kind of wish we were playing in Colorado this year because imagine if we had wind adjusted plus elevation, dude could have hit from 70. Absolutely
Jeez.
would have been possible.
And he's still in college.
He's still in college. He added some muscle this year. Like, dude, he is absolutely working his way to be an NFL kicker at this point. I mean, he's the most accurate kicker in Tech
Whew.
history still for now. So, and he
Mhm.
did a really well last year. He had a 48 yarder during the game. That was not even a question. The guy we got to talk about though is Kevin Roche Jr. We have a massive tight end who's good, and
Hey, I'll take it.
he caught some balls that none of our tight ends would have caught last year, just in terms of where they were, as close as they were to defenders, how tight the windows were. Now some of those may have been passes that probably shouldn't have been thrown, but still, like he was making some really tight throws or making some really tight catches. Easily one of the most impressive dudes that we've got on the field. So uh, he is going to be a weapon for us. That is for damn sure. Jordan Allen got a lot of play as well in the game. So I think that's the main thing. Kevin Rose Jr. That's who I'm looking for come next year. And then we also had some offensive line guys out, so I wouldn't even comment on what the offensive line is going to look like. Uh, Defense didn't play like the soft zone. Remember how like we just let dudes just have 8 yards every play. Uh, didn't play like that in this game. That was nice to see cornerbacks pressing more. Zachary Toby was good in coverage. There's a lot of just deep seam routes thrown along the sidelines that because it's easy to just call run fast straight plays in a spring game, and so they kind of knew it was coming. But that was good to see. Um, but one of the things that I liked a lot coming out of this was in the press conference. They talked a lot about how they're like embracing the newness of everything, and they are very they're having a lot. They seem to be having a lot of fun together, and doing and embracing the work it's taking to gel and get and just be this new identity, be this refreshed team. And so um, that was basically there's buy-in. It was pretty clear that there's a lot of buy-in with what's going on right now, which is good to see with how many portal guys are there, having a new quarterback, having a number of guys that were here last year, having a lot of new guys, a lot of new important guys between Coach Godsey having a new quarterback, other new coaches in there, a lot of important dudes just not there. So uh,
Cool.
that was good. That was good to see, and the crowd was decent for a spring afternoon. It was all on the west side. We didn't film the game wasn't on TV, and so Thankfully we didn't get the complaints of why is nobody at the game when no one is sitting on the east side of the stadium because that's not where you sit for the spring game. So, uh, yeah,
Yeah, well, I appreciate the update, Jack, because I literally could not have seen it if you had not been there. So
that's there you go.
great.
There you go. We did it. We did the report. All right. Well, who do you know about that we can hear from though?
Yeah, as always, we can hear from Section 103. Section 103 is the very best place to find Georgia Tech apparel. Jack, new golfing mascot polos. We did
Uh-huh.
not talk about this before going on air,
No, we didn't.
and we probably could have or should have. Of course, they've got Clemson, they've got Purdue Pete, but Buzz putting, Buzz playing golf. You can get that on a looks gold and white background to me, tech gold and white, all the way from small to 4XL. Yours for $79 minus 10% for code FTRS. Free shipping on orders over $100 every day. So buy two of them. Tell them we sent you. You can find them at section103.com. Actually looks really good. I love Buzz doing stuff, Jack. So yeah, check it out and follow at Section 103 on Instagram as well. Till next week, Jack. What else we got tonight?
The biggest win in softball on the road ever, times two,
Twice?
times two. Uh,
Twice.
yeah. So the softball team, who we have mentioned time and time again, has been so close and so close and so close this season to just getting big wins and getting upsets. They finally got two of them in the same series.
Yeah.
They, after beating Georgia Southern very easily in a run rule game on Wednesday, they beat the number 10 Hokies at 2-1 in the series. Lost the first game 10-2 in a run rule, but then won 6-2 and 9-7 in the final games. They had as much as a 9-3 lead in that third game, and so VT made a run, but like Tech had created a lot of distance in that game, which is big. Let me go into all the various firsts and senses of this game. First ranked series win in 14 years since we beat FSU in 2012. Highest ranked series win ever. Previous high was number 12 UNC in 2009. First series win in Blacksburg, regardless of ranking, in 15 years. Um, Saturday's win was the highest true road win in program history until they did it again. They were the fifth and sixth top 10 wins in program history. Yeah, lots of
Yeah.
lots of big stuff. So now they have in consecutive years beaten number 10 Virginia Tech, and then who was it? Oklahoma State was what, number 12 last year when we beat them at home, somewhere in that ballpark.
Something like that.
Something like that in the low teens, and now we've hit 10. We have technically this is top 10 because this is 10. Uh, I will so just massive. I think we've known we've
Oh
known this
yeah.
team is better than this last year's team. Like they have shown a lot of signs that they are good. Madeline Johnson has come out to be a fantastic rock star starting pitcher for this team. She's been adding some complete games, but I think this weekend showed the completeness of the pitching staff because Sydney Watson, Kenley Hillary actually did most of the work on them in the circle in games 2 and 3. Madeline came in a save situation, which is very unusual, but they've got three pitchers that can carry them through a series now. And if you can do it against Virginia Tech, means you can do it against the overwhelming majority of every team we're going to face from this point forward, which
Yeah.
is not many considering we've got one series left and then the ACC tournament and then hopefully the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about that in a sec, but
Yeah.
just you've watched. I know you've watched this team longer than me. You've been more attached to this team than I have on the long term scale of our Tech careers. Like that, what's ringing with you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of coming back from them being out in Iowa 2 weeks ago, the thing that it felt then was like, dang, that was the window to get a couple more wins and put some distance in a team that's been pretty snake bitten this year. I
Yep.
stand by what I said last week that they needed to pick up a win or two against FSU and
Hmm.
Virginia Tech to be feeling good about it. That the team's just been kind of unlucky. It feels like one that's bet the floor is higher than it's been, and I
Yeah.
think this is the best evidence we've seen of that, Jack. I mean,
Yeah.
they've made the tournament, I think, what, twice in the Scions of the Southland era, right? They've been pretty close in a couple other years. They still got work cut out for them.
Yep.
They really do. If you look at Pair, they're what, second team out ish. That still feels right to me. But to
Yep.
say, okay, now you're 5-17 in quad one wins. You've got two wins on the road at Virginia Tech. that's the stuff that again moves your resume from one pile to another, right? That puts you ahead of
Hmm.
a WKU or something. Like, granted, I need to go look at the rest of WKU schedule, but like, when you're making decisions like that, they're going to get Florida State at home. Maybe that means that you pick up one or two of those games, and that's when you're talking about instead of being, they're 29 and 23 right now. They get Furman on Wednesday.
Yep.
That's got to be a win. 30 and 23. If you can go into the end of the, if you can go into the ACC tournament with 31 wins, I'd be feeling pretty good about that.
Yep.
I think again, it's a team that can hit decently well. Maybe a little bit, a little bit unlucky with runs per game, or just getting
Hmm.
getting one or two more runs in. But that's really the same stuff we've been saying all year. I
Yep.
feel like I feel like for baseball, we just kind of talked about the team as if we kind of know who they are right now. And I feel like
Yep.
softball, like they're proving that. I think we've been spot on the last 3 4 weeks of saying, hey, you wish you probably could have had a couple of those games back, but the
Hmm.
fact that they can rally and rally after we didn't really talk through this Friday's game, Jack, they lost 10-2.
They
It was
did.
not one that you went and they're like, yep, got them right where we want them,
Not at all. Not at all. You're right. Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, that was not a thought at all in my head for that game at all. Just look at the box score for Saturday's game. So that's not the right thing that I just clicked on. Yeah, Hillary Sydney started. She went 2 2/3 innings, and Kenley went 4 1/3 innings. So like
Yeah.
long stretch of relief there. Madeline Johnson throws 3 innings in the Virginia Tech's in the third game of the series. But I mean, they had the winning run at the plate. Like we almost like this almost flew out of our hands. Like we needed all 9 runs badly in that game because Madeline had walked a couple people, had allowed a hit. They had a girl who got a solo homer to make it 9-7 in that final inning. So like they Virginia Tech gave us everything that they had in that final game, but just the arms were actually there to hold them off, which is I mean we talking about snake bitten like we had similar games against Duke that we lost 6-5 and 14-13, which if you get those games changes everything about how we're talking about this team right now.
Well, and that's the thing too is Johnson gave up 7 runs, only 5 of which were earned, but 7 runs on Friday night, and to come back around on Sunday and hold them off the board for the most part.
Hmm.
I mean, gave up 2 runs, but
Those were
that
inherited runners,
that's
anyways. Yeah, she had inherited
yeah,
runners
like
and then had that in the seventh inning. So yeah,
yeah, so, and I think that's a good like again differentiator one of a good tech team versus just an okay tech team is one where you can go back to the same well multiple times in a weekend, right? Watson, Hillary, we talked about too, and like still put it past them.
yep,
That's big, Jack, right? Because at
yep,
softball, unlike baseball, you're seeing the same pitchers 1 2 3 times in a
hmm,
weekend, right?
yep, yep,
If you are getting feasted on and you are not having a deep bag or can't make those adjustments, that's the difference between a good team with a good pitcher or two and one
yep,
that's a more complete team. And I definitely feel that completeness here. And to that point too, just they bled runs back, but they scored enough early to be okay, and they didn't give them all
yep,
back, right?
yep,
That's how you win some games. And if they can continue to show that 1 or 2 more times this weekend, again, that's getting resume wins, right? And that
yep,
like again is you can clean up against the okay teams that against quad four, they're 14-1, right? There
hmm,
are very few danger type of losses in here. It's just a matter of getting 1 or 2 more for that positive side of the resume. It'd
yep,
be a bummer for them not to sneak in as you know, a 3 seed at large type of team, but
yeah. They'd be
that's
scared. They,
that's where they
yeah,
play to be right now.
yep.
So
They,
it's kind of what
they,
you get.
they would be scared. I just want to point out some of the names on the hitting side. Alyssa Willer is still hitting up over 400 right now and has an on
Mhm.
base of 525. So, I mean, these gals are doing it really well at the plate. Grayson Tucker's at hitting 388. Holly Medina
Yep.
378. She had a great play. She had some great defense this week. Paige Vukadinovich up at 359. The stalwart of this team. Reese Hunter's still hanging in there at 342. Lowest average is Emma Simon, but at 254. Like that's
Yeah.
even a floor raiser that our worst starting lineup hitter is hitting in the 250s instead of below like we have seen a lot of years.
And I do think it's notable that, you know, 10 10-ish players really do make up the brunt of this team's offensive
Yeah.
contribution. It's kind of a short kind of a short list, right? You got Gracie
Yeah,
King and then just a handful of pitcher at bats
yeah,
as the rest of the contributors. So it's
yeah,
really been a
the,
pretty consistent core
yeah. We've
that
got the
that is getting the
yeah,
reps in.
we've got a starting nine, and then Reagan Wall is the bench player. Like that's pretty much how it's all panning out.
Yeah.
We got to talk about what the future holds because there's a lot of possibilities here, and they're all very interrelated. So, as we mentioned, they got 3 games left. They got 4 games left. They play Furman, and then they have a weekend series against Florida State. Florida State's very good. They're number 12 in the country. Uh, yes, we did just beat the number 10 team on the road 2 out of 3 games, but I mean, odds are still that we will get swept in this series against Florida State. If we get one, that's huge. You probably need one to jump up into the last four in category. And I don't want to assume anything about the ACC tournament. But now here's the thing: one of those teams in this last four in pot or in the looking in the projected one of the teams in the last four in pot is North Carolina. North Carolina right now in the ACC standings is 1 game behind us at 9 and 12 for ninth place. We're currently eighth. North Carolina though also plays Virginia Tech this weekend, so their odds of getting a lot. They also just as much as we do need a win, and so there is a absolutely a world out there where we maybe sneak one out of Florida State and Virginia Tech solves their problems and gets one up. Basically, we're big old Virginia Tech fans this week, and only to both help in the ACC standings, but also we need North Carolina out of the way if we can get them out of the way in terms of the tournament.
And I think Jack, another thing too, if you click that over from current to projected, you'll get the bubble watch it kind of shift. I
Yeah,
think it implies that North Carolina loses 3 times, which
I
is
think
funny
that's
because they're
absolutely fair.
completely
Yeah.
out of the next four out and the first four out. But if you look at that last four in, looking at
Well,
that,
that's because
Wisconsin,
well, look at
Purdue,
you
and
should
oh, go ahead.
look at the Gainesville regional. They're number 3.
Oh, do they pop in?
Yeah, they pop
Oh,
in. Yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay, well, psych. Thanks, Jack, for catching that. That would have been embarrassing. But if you look at the last four in, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Michigan, all in that last four in, tells me that there's not a lot to differentiate those last, five or not five, last
Yeah,
three, four teams in the Big Ten. Throw
yeah,
Northwestern in there too, right? And if you look at the ACC, they've got the same number of teams in, but so many of those are more like your high two seeds, your
right,
hosts,
right.
Virginia Tech, Florida
Yeah,
State. I think that speaks to a higher caliber of play. Maybe you get a ninth seed out of that, especially if Georgia Tech takes one. So I'm
yeah.
trying to read this as an optimist. Obviously, there are many ways to slice and dice this, not just our new favoritist website. I'm sure we could get into it, but it's such a useful tool to talk about some of the trends that we see. Right,
Yeah,
you're seeing in the ACC. If we just walk out, standings and things, right? Duke, a team that Georgia Tech has looked competitive against, Florida
hmm
State, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Virginia. All these teams are pretty credible,
yeah.
and it means that Tech's played a tough slate in terms
They
of how
have.
this is all shaken out. So if they could just gut one more out. Would have been nice to have one of those against Duke or Louisville already
Oh
in the
my
back
God.
pocket, but
What a,
they got another
yeah.
bite at the apple here before the season's done. So
That's the kind of stuff that they had last year that got them in. Just those like,
yep,
couple big wins that did it. Now these couple big wins against Virginia Tech are helping in that direction. We only have 4 games left, but we do have the hardest remaining strength of schedule in the country, technically,
yep,
which
yep.
is funny. So, well, that doesn't mean much at this point because we've played basically the entire season at this point with just a week to go. So, to point it now with the ACC tournament, this is single elimination. We're going to be in the somewhere in the 8 or 9 or 7 to 10 game in all likelihood. Um, if you jump to the 7 to 10, we probably play Florida State. If we don't move or if we move down, we don't move or do move down one, we probably play Duke. Um,
Yeah.
Duke is done for ACC play. They got all 21 games in. So if Florida State sweeps us, I don't know where the tiebreakers land in that on that front. Let me do a very quick check here on what if they've played each other this season because if they have, that would help us. That would help determine a lot of things. Florida State did not play Duke this year, so
Hmm.
some other kind of tiebreaker exists in there. Don't know what it is. Not going to worry about that right now. All that to say, if we beat Florida State one time, Duke wins the conference, and they'll get the 1 seed. So that's where we're at there. So likely playing. the our path to some sort of maybe you make the tournament as a bye is you get a win here against Florida State. You hold your way into the 8-9 game. You play probably one of Virginia or North Carolina, maybe even Clemson, uh, of which all teams we can beat or have beaten already this season. And then you line up against Duke in the second round, who we nearly beat twice by a mere combined like 3 feet of ball flying in the air. So it's a game of inches in so many ways this year for the softball team. So I mean that was a lot we just talked about them, but as you can tell, we're passionate about it, and they have a good story here, and if it ends in the ACC tournament, they have the talent to finish way later in the year than that, but it's just the dice roll just so funky sometimes, and it would be nice if talent was more like dispersed amongst the conferences and not, I don't know, not dilute, not consolidated like college sports conglomerates. But oh well, that's a different podcast entirely.
Yeah.
Uh, Tennis, they had ACCs. It didn't go so hot for either team.
Yeah, I think tennis is just about done. Shy of some singles bids or maybe doubles bids, but men's tennis lost 4-0 to Cal in the first round of the ACC tournament. Um, I don't know that there's much to say. 4-0 is a sweep as they come.
Yep,
Christophe Clement was leading in the third set on his court. That's
didn't
about all
matter.
that
Didn't matter at
jumps
all.
out of the page there.
Yep.
Women's tennis lost in the second round 4-2 against FSU. A little more competitive there. Maybe one you'd like to get back, but they did win doubles, but
Yep.
just couldn't get it done on the singles courts there. Went to three against Alejandra Cruz went to 3 sets against Eva Shaw on the first court, so maybe that moves the needle there. But courts 4, 5, 6 were all pretty tight there, or pretty
That,
tough
that,
there.
yeah, not much going on. The only player that might make any of the various tournaments is Alejandra Cruz in the women's singles, if I had to guess, because she is
Yeah,
number 60 in the country, and so there might be a world where she sneaks her way in there. Would be playing a very tough opponent no matter what to start. So, and
yeah,
also losing this doesn't probably help either. In terms of just seeing she lost the number 106 player in the country as the number 60th. So, I'm not even gonna begin to think about bubble watch for individual singles tennis because that's a much more volatile thing than team sports. But that's just if we're gonna get someone, it's probably gonna be her.
yeah.
Golf, we talked about the Ford Collegiate last weekend. They were mid tournament when we last talked, but they did finish, and they actually finished on a good note. They climbed up from eighth to fifth. They were 3 shots behind LSU for third. I'm calling that a third place amongst the second tier of teams because uh, the first tier was Texas at 43 under and Auburn at 32 under. We were at 11 under. And if we get 3 more shots, we're second at 14 under. So I'm calling that progress absolutely amongst the
Yeah.
best of the country. Auburn and Texas are in their own worlds. They have guys that are going to play on the tour on their teams. And because college sports has incentivized somewhat playing longer, and in golf in particular, with how volatile things are at the PGA Tour level and Corn Ferry Tour. I don't blame these guys for sticking around, but like as I mentioned last week, they've got dudes that are gonna win tournaments between now and 2032 on the tour on the pro circuit. So uh, I'm barely even counting them. That just have fun. Go, one of them go win the Natty, preferably Auburn, and call it a day.
Jack your true colors, you know. But no, it's definitely the best I felt about a result in quite some time. So
Yeah.
that's good to see. Now's the time to be doing stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, if you get hot now. Sneak your way into. They do well at ACCs, do well at NCAA regionals, and I think right now the win would be getting to the final tournament, the NCAA finals. I think would be the not the final like pair of the not the final matchup in the turn in bracket play, but just making it into the final tournament of the year and wherever the hell that. Oh, I should find out where that is. Let's figure out where could they go this year for the NCAA championships. Oh, they don't have it listed. Never mind. Okay. Well, they're gonna go
I
to.
was good.
Ooh, they're playing in Panama City for ACCs next weekend.
Hmm.
Yes, or this week I should say. So that's where they're
Hosted by Florida State, I assume.
at Sharks Tooth Golf Club is where they'll be.
That sounds familiar.
I
Maybe
think
they've done
they
a tournament there before.
I think they have. I think they have. So, uh,
Huh.
Yep. So we'll see. That's at Lake Powell in Florida for those that are Florida knowledgeable. So we'll have an update there next week on that. Track and field, we did have the Georgia Tech Invitational, the second spring track meet of the year. Lots of people set various personal bests and things like that. The two that I want to mention are Tahir Hines had the second longest hammer throw in program history at 62.63 meters. That's very nice to see. And Kendall Ward, who we've been monitoring in high jump, has the second best mark in the conference right now at 1.79 that they cleared this week at home. And so there's a world where we might get an ACC first at ACC outdoors later on. If depending how that goes, they've got time before that though because they've got Penn relays this weekend. So
Dare I say, up there with the Rose Bowl in historic
no kidding,
American collegiate like sporting events, the Penn Relays. I mean,
absolutely,
that's
yeah.
like the I don't know, like the Notre Dame, not Notre Dame, Notre Dame of of track meets, you know.
Absolutely.
But
For those not going to Penn, Auburn has a meet that is on Saturday, so you may see some folks at in Auburn.
weirdly, I feel like those two always happened around the same time. Maybe they just did once when I was like in college and remembered that specific time that that lined up. But
Yeah,
you know, that's how my brain works. But
yeah,
yeah, no, Penn Relays at Franklin Field. That's a classic. Good to see. And to your point on top finishers and things like that, I feel like the top of the squad is pretty notable this year. So
yep,
should at least have some good individuals to watch out for
yep.
come end of year for them. So.
Nice, very nice to have. The rest of the way, they got one more meet at Georgia for some of them, and at Emory as well. A Wednesday night at Emory,
Ah,
if you want to go to the Woodruff Peak Center Stadium. Uh, my claim to fame of that place is I was first in the 10 and unders DeKalb Swim League 25 freestyle in 2009 or no in yeah 2009, and then I dove too deep in the final and finished 10th.
good, good. I
Yeah,
think I swam there one time in college. It's kind
it's a
of
nice
a
pool.
strange building. It needs some windows in the pool, but I'm a pool windows kind of guy.
It
So,
does need it. It's
I'm not saying
yeah.
that's why I chose Georgia Tech, Jack, but it didn't
No,
hurt. So,
it did. No, I mean
but
it's a nice pool. We are lucky to have that pool and Tech's pool in the same place, so close for folks that care about that kind
it
of stuff.
it scratches the right itch that like Georgia Tech sees Emory sometimes in random sports. I don't know why.
As
It
we
just
should.
does,
We should play
you
them
know?
in something every year somehow. Yes, it's D1 versus D3. Like very like I wouldn't even dare put our baseball teams out there at the same time. But like yeah, no, it's worth it. There's a history of it as well. So, anyways, last thing, not sports. We've talked about how the Guggenheim building's been getting some funding. They got the land now. Tech and Coca-Cola have agreed to a purchase of the land that's directly across from the Coke property that's at the Tech intersection Parkway and North Ave. It's basically
Yeah.
just a bunch of green space. That's where the building's going to go. That's been the presumed place for a long, long time, and that is so that'll be getting built eventually. There's no timeline out available or anything like that, but Georgia Tech News did finally release this week that land was purchased, and that's been
Well,
a lot for a long time. That's been what that land has been planned out to be. So
there's really not much land left what south of 10th and east of North Side that
yeah,
is not owned by Georgia Tech that's north of North Avenue. Like
yeah,
that
yeah,
is one of the last big parcels. I mean, Wells Fargo obviously a holdout and
hmm,
some of the businesses along Marietta, but really
yeah,
it's kind of that missing piece there. And dare I say, the more of North Avenue along there that Tech owns, and this is just me speaking, not knowing any actual plans, but like that allows you to kind of control the streetscape and the environment for what really has been kind of a wall. And there's no
yeah.
physical fence, but it certainly
Yeah,
is not super, just hang out along North Avenue type
right.
of vibe,
Yeah,
right?
there's absolutely a world where North Ave and by 20, I mean, if assuming if we get funding by like 2035 looks a hell of a lot different because I know Tech is looking for money to build a welcome center on
Yeah.
where the visitor one area one parking lot is, which is directly
Mm,
across the street from Tech Tower Lawn. And that would
yeah.
take over the Burge deck and places like that. Maybe not the Burge deck, but at least would take over that street parking. And then yeah,
Hmm.
you put that. Then you put Guggenheim just to that what the a tenth of a mile, if that, down the road, going west, and you're
Yeah.
talking about very brand new, very glassy new buildings that would serve a huge
Oh,
boon to the institute because a we need a general purpose welcome center building for a lot of reasons, and then Guggenheim is just an old building
part
that needs a
and
lot.
and part of the reason Tech Tower Lawn doesn't really feel like a quad in the classic sense is because your west side is a parking lot and a big old hill.
Yep.
Your
Yep.
north side is Tech Tower, which is a
Yep.
cool building, but kind of like there be dragons for your average student. Same
Yeah.
same with the Carnegie Building. And then
Yeah.
you got Bill Moore, which, some people are in all the time, but they're just, as you move south from there, it's just kind of like the ghostly edge of the stadium. And then
Yep.
you got North Avenue, which is a 4-lane, 35 mile an hour road with, no
Yep.
no protected turn facilities. Sidewalks fine, but there's no
Right.
bike stuff. Trees are fine, but it's not really like park-ish.
Yeah.
There's a lot you could unlock by, making it look maybe a little more like, dare I say, even, Spring Street is not perfect, West Peachtree is not perfect, but they manage it pretty decently up in Midtown, in a way that I think they just don't on
Yep.
North Avenue.
Yeah. So it'll be a big if it all comes together. It's a long term project kind of thing. So like if you're I know I got friends whose kids are coming to tech this camp they're coming to campus this fall to start their tech careers, and I
But
mean they'll never see these buildings ever.
But
But
here's the
it's
thing, Jack, is like, and this is maybe my like planning brain and building brain and city
mm-hmm.
brain coming together. If you look at the aerial of how like the first drive and outside the CRC through to the Campanile came
Mm-hmm.
together with like the walkway and the changes
Yeah.
that are through
Mm-hmm.
there, like it feels like it doesn't change very fast, but one
It can.
one
Yeah.
year that's the exhibition hall year, right? And
Yep. Yep.
and you could have probably said the same thing when they're building out BioQuad, or boom, now we're on what Tech
Yeah.
Square Phase 3 is just wrapping up. Like these things change so slowly, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh,
Yep.
that's different. The Fanning Center is about to be done. That's a great example.
Yep.
We'd spent
Absolutely.
4, 5, 6 years of that being planned, and then you know,
Yep.
seems like
Yep.
it's already here. But then again, you and
Uh,
I mean, you're there every day. I'm not. I'm not up there every day. So
um,
what am I saying?
I forgot to add this to the shot sheet, but do you know about the Georgia Tech soccer stays program for this summer?
Soccer stays program? I
Yes.
assume it's World Cup related.
Yes, they are offering rooms in North Ave uh for folks coming to the World Cup. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess
So,
that if you're whatever the like backpacker through Europe equivalent, or Southeast Asia or South America equivalent,
yeah.
but for soccer fans is, I imagine that's the the
Well,
market you're going for.
there is an eligibility criteria. You have to be attending, volunteering, or working with activities related to the World Cup this summer. And the idea is that like, hey, let's keep
Okay.
you in walking distance to everything so that you don't have to
Yeah.
pay extra. So if you are in that category, you can pay $237 a night. That includes linens and breakfast at North Ave Dining, I have to assume. Uh, yeah, if you're staying for 2 weeks,
And they're
it's
not giving
cheaper.
you a
It's
varsity
cheaper.
breakfast, Jack.
I hope
It's,
not.
it's called
Oh
a
God,
frosted orange and a hot dog.
God, I hope not. That'd be rough. They'll let you buy Buzz funds if you want to buy more food. You can buy a parking pass as well. So, yeah, there's.
The Always Sunny in Philadelphia bit. Money me, money now.
But if hey, if you, I mean, I'm glad they're doing it. Like, there's the way, there's money to be
Might
had
as
here.
well.
This makes perfect sense. They're gonna have, they always have empty housing inventory during the summer. So yeah, may as well
Yeah.
sell it while
As
you
long
got.
as it doesn't squeeze out a student, that I'm sure
I
they
don't
did the
think it.
analysis and go, we don't fill these all anyway. Bingo,
Yeah.
bango,
Oh.
bongo.
Oh yeah.
People are doing internships in a GTL and at home and
It's
working
fine.
at
It's
wherever,
totally fine. Yeah. And also you put them in the building as close as possible to the stadium of all the
Okay.
housing buildings that we have, so it makes perfect sense to put them down there. So, all right.
Yep.
Did we do it? Did we make
I
episode 311 happen?
I think another podcast adequately done, Jack.
Adequately. That's right. We're semi-pros. We can't say it's perfect. We're just
Yeah,
semi-pros. Yep. Yeah.
we're cromulent. We're plugging away. We're workmanlike. We're here. We're bringing the goods. So until next week, right? That's all we can ask for. So.
That's all we can ask for. All right, wrap us up.
Yeah. As always, this podcast is brought to you by From the Rumble Seat. From the rumbleseat.com is the best place to find us. And from the rumble seat at gmail.com is the best place to provide your feedback, thoughts, comments, future episode ideas. We're coming up on the summer. Would love to hear from you. You can find us on Blue Sky. I'm over there, Jack's over there, the blog's over there. Just look for From the Rumble Seat. You can find Section 103 at section103.com and at Section 103 on Instagram. You can find From the Rumble Seat on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at From the Rumble Seat. And you can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are sold. Till we speak again, good night, good luck, and go Jackets.